Our agenda briefing for tonight, the 11th of November 2024, for our agenda for the 18th of November Ordinary Council meeting. I open up tonight at 6 p.m. And on behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land on which we meet today, and I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. This meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, which we have none this evening, your presence may be recorded, even though you're not here. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of Council's decision. The purpose of tonight's agenda briefing session is for councillors to ask questions and obtain additional information in respect to items presented on the ordinary council meeting agenda. Questions asked by councillors are to be answered by the CEO or person nominated by the CEO and or person presiding. No decisions are made at agenda briefing sessions and no statements are to be made, no debate on items to be conducted. As we do not have an official role this evening to make decisions, we can take that the Deputy Mayor is with us via phone. Good evening to you, Deputy Mayor.
Good evening.
Thank you. Councillor Winner is here with us tonight. Good evening to you, Councillor Winner. Thanks for representing today at the Remembrance Service at Boulder. Good evening to you, Councillor O'Donnell. And Councillor Viskovich is here tonight as well. Good evening to you, Councillor Viskovich. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us here tonight. Wow. CEO is here tonight, Andrew Bryan. Congratulations on your recent award, Mr. CEO. Well achieved there, and the LG Pro Space. The medal looks splendid in your office. Director of Community Development is here, Mia Hicks. Good evening to you, Mia. Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli, is back from the US of A, where he voted in the recent... No, he didn't vote in the recent elections. But he's back. The Director, Acting Director of Development and Growth, Elaine Baldemiro, is here tonight. Elaine, thank you. Casey's here tonight. Casey Radford, our Acting Executive Manager of Finance. Casey, good evening to you. Jamie Boyes is with us tonight in our governance role alongside ICT Risk and Compliance Officer Matthew Pearson, and Samrat Achaira is here tonight. Samrat, thanks for joining us, the ICT Asset Officer. Good evening. Just making sure that we're on air. Councillor Johnson is an apology for tonight. We don't have any other further apologies, Mr. CEO. None received from myself. Councillor Bodica is on a leave of absence. The Executive Manager of Finance, Sandra Kerno, is on leave this week, Mr. CEO. And Acting Director of Corporate and Commercial, Francis Liston, is an apology for tonight. Councillors, any further notations of interest for tonight? I have two. One from Councillor Winner on item 1411, the Walk of Fame and Impartiality. A related party is a nominee. And also item 1515 with the Walk of Fame and Impartiality for the same reason. Thanks, Councillor Winner. We'll pass that on. And there's also a financial this evening from myself in regards to 1522, which is the amendment to the approved childcare centre on page 53 of tonight. It's a financial interest, as I have a young one in a centre owned by the applicant. Item 14, reports of committees. We start off with the Strategic and General Purpose Committee meeting minutes from the 30th of October 2024. Elaine, covering off this one. Elaine, if you'd like to come forward. Councillors, obviously the reports from committees, I think we may have all been present at this particular committee meeting, so if there's anything further. Thanks, Elaine. Just need your microphone there, thank you, Elaine. Excellent.
And through the Mayor, it's the report is for the Walk of Fame, which went through the committee, and it went to a concept forum, and the committee decided on the process. So the report itself has got an amended motion, which is presented to the council and at the strategic committee.
Thank you, Elaine. Noting that we will formally announce the Walk of Fame inductees of the 2025 Australia Day event, and we are not aware of those as elected members at this point in time. Councillors, any questions? No, thank you. Thanks, Elaine. 1412, Mr CEO, Governance Framework Review.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It was just simply a couple of administrative amendments made to the governance framework. As all councillors were present, happy to take any questions if there are any.
Any further questions, councillors, from that? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to the CEO, if I could just clarify, the changes in the report are all actually underlined within the report that was attached?
I believe they were. A complete markup version was provided, to my understanding.
Thank you, Mr CEO. No further questions. 1413, Mr CEO, local law update.
Again, Mr Mayor, happy to take any questions on this. It was just an update in where we're going in terms of the local law review.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's under the heading Next Steps. We'll be engaging the assistance of a solicitor or experienced consultant. Do we approach the solicitors in our city, or we have previously and they're just too busy to take on extra work?
Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. The development of local laws is a bit more specialised, which is why we tend to engage with specific lawyers in that space who understand exactly where it's going and what's required from a state perspective.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just through the chair to the CEO. Mr CEO, do we have any indication when we can expect the Local Government Act Amendment Bill 2024 to actually be passed so we can take into consideration for the next steps in regards to this item?
Through the Mayor, it's obviously being considered by Parliament at the moment. As soon as they get it through, we'll start actioning it, but yeah, timeframe's sitting with state government at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Any further questions? No. 1415, Mayoral Vehicle Policy, Mr CEO.
1414.
Thought I did forget. No, just keep you on your toes tonight. I know that we're light on in council. 1414, Corporate Performance Reporting.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, take all these as read since they've been through the committee, and happy to take any questions, but it is an update on the corporate business plan actions for the financial year to date. This is the first quarterly report for the year, so there's no comparison against previous reporting periods.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
In relation to major projects on track for expected delivery milestones, and the golf course is included under this one, is it still included even though the golf course at this stage, nothing's happening, but it's ongoing discussions? Is that why it's still under that heading?
Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor. In the officer's report, you'll notice that item 7, the project remains on hold with negotiations underway with the developer. So that's where it's sitting at the moment. Obviously, we'll continue to update that as it comes through. So it is one of those ones that's a challenge in terms of timeframes to report against it. The delivery of infrastructure to the site, so the enabling infrastructure, power, water, etc., is still progressing and will be completed in this current financial year.
Thank you, Mr CEO. No further questions. Councillor O'Donnell, go again.
One more, this time the Arts Centre regarding that, and it does still remain on track. Are we allowed to ask, have we received interest in that? It says there that that it'll be advertised back in October. Are we allowed to ask that question?
It's currently up for tender at the moment. Is that correct, Mr CEO?
Yeah, the tender was advertised 26th of October for construction. We won't know the outcome of the tenders until the tender's opening period.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Any further questions, councillors? Nope. Now we can get to 1515, Mr CEO, Mayoral Vehicle Policy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, this one was provided through to the committee in discussion around this. It is in line with mayoral vehicle policies that other regional centres do have, and we've tried to keep that consistent in accordance with both the provisions of the Local Government Act, the Salary and Allowances Tribunal determination in relation to vehicles, and what other regional councils have offered.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any questions, councillors? No. One question. Councillor Viskovich. Maybe more than one.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to clarify the motor vehicle procedure. Is this a separate procedure for just the mayor, or is there two policies for the mayor and then one for staff?
Yeah, through the Mayor, it is different in that the provisions for the provisions under the Salary and Allowances Tribunal, which apply to the Mayor, are different to that of officers. So it will be a different guideline that actually manages it to be consistent with that determination.
Follow-up question.
Thank you. So just in the covering, I mean, it's probably just very minor, but in the covering management procedure form, do we need to have there specifically that it's for the mayor and not just vehicle management procedure?
Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll have a quick look at that, and if we need to make any changes, we'll make them before next week.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any further questions, councillors? Thank you. 1416, Beam e-scooter update. Elaine, our Acting Director of Development and Growth.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, it was a update report after 2 quarters that was presented to the committee, and it just talked about compliance with the permit conditions, and the committee was to note the update from Beam e-scooters.
Thank you, Elaine. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a quick one through the Mayor. Can I confirm that the current trial is due to expire in April 2025?
Elaine.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, the permit actually expires on the 29th of March 2025.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you. After receiving the report and discussion by the Acting Director recently, it appears that the city is spending a lot of time attending meetings and things like this for this. I just didn't know if, in going forward, that we could look at possibly how much time we're spending on this for the return, and or does the city get more benefit out of it by us doing this for them?
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, we can look into that.
Thank you. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a follow-up question from my previous question. Will any extension on the current contract with Beam be required to come back to Council for approval or consideration first, or does it contain an extension option?
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, it can come back to Council for the new permit.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, please, Elaine, the incidents in the report is stating that there's only been one incident that's been reported. Can I ask, how are they reported? Is that just from Beam who have reported those, or is that through external people?
Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, the information that's being captured has been provided by Beam, and I've got separate information from those other areas from the emergency services and the police.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any further questions? No. 1517, September 2024, quarterly commercial business reports, noting the 7 business areas that are covered in the report. Casey, over to you, our Acting Executive Manager of Finance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The committee received reports for the commercial businesses for the quarters ending 30th of September, which outlines the key performance, events, operations and activities of the commercial business units for the first quarter of this year.
Thanks, Casey. Any further questions, councillors, to our Acting Executive Manager of Finance on those reports? Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, under the report, I see the income over budget is only is just over 0.5%, and the expenditure over budget is 1/3%. I just like to comment. I think that's very...
No comments? Any questions?
Oh, sorry. Is that a good? Is that good standard to have that?
Councillor O'Donnell, you've moved on to the next report, by the way. We're still with 1417, the September 2024 quarterly commercial business reports.
Oh, apologies.
Did you have any questions on that one? No, thank you. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through to the Acting Director, please. I just wanted to know the sale advertising space through the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Airport. It's, I believe, under budget. I'm just wondering how... Is this the advertising space on the walls and etc.? And I'm just wondering how are we advertising to get people into that space?
Acting Executive Manager of Finance.
Through the Mayor, I can confirm it is the advertising space, both on the baggage handling area and the walls. In terms of how we get advertisers, I'd take that on a notice.
Thank you. Any further questions on the quarterlies, councillors? No, thank you. However, don't go anywhere. Acting Executive Manager of Finance. Now we can move on to Councillor O'Donnell's questions. Statement of Financial Activity, September 2024, first of all. Report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Council is asked to receive the Statement of Financial Activity for the period ending the 30th September 24. For this period, income is over budget by 0.5% and expenditure is over budget by 0.3%.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell, have you got a question? One question, go ahead. You've been waiting for it.
Same again. In regard to that income over budget by 0.5% and expenditure over budget by 1/3%, is that is that a good return accounting wise? And you expected that?
What a question.
Yeah.
Executive Manager? Acting Executive Manager?
Sorry, through the Mayor. Yes, we're very pleased with that result at this time. It is a result of increased internal reporting and working with officers and the finance team to ensure that we are budgeting as expected.
Thank you. Noting Councillor Turner's appearance and attendance at 6:17 p.m, and thank you, Councillor Turner, for attending today's Kalgoorlie Remembrance Day service for us. Item 15.1.2, which is the Accounts Payable Report, October 2024. Back with you, Acting Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council is asked to receive a list of payments for municipal and trust funds for the month of October 2024, totalling $11.4 million.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? No? Thank you. Thanks tonight, Casey. Acting Executive Manager of Finance. 15.1.3, CEO Delegations of Authority. Over to you, Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government Act, Council is required to review the delegations register on an annual basis. This report provides the outcomes of the internal review that's been undertaken, along with the complete list of delegations and delegation amendment history is contained in the attachment to that. There's been no substantial changes to any of the delegations that are in there. There's been some minor changes around addition of other officers for sub-delegations, but apart from that, nothing significant has changed, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any questions, councillors, on the delegations of authority? Mr CEO, is there any impact to the organisation from that, from a staffing point of view? Is there any impact for staff or yourself with that extra delegation, noting it's probably legislative?
Through Mr Mayor, not at this point in time. We are monitoring changes to the Local Government Act. When that comes through, we may have to review some of the delegations. There are a number of planning items which have increased workload around individual approvals, and we're just currently working through that at the moment, as well as what may be able to be delegated further by council into relevant to town planning matters.
Thank you, Mr CEO. No further questions, councillors. 15.1.4, the council calendar for 2025. We're talking about it already. Mr CEO, pretty much as is, where is?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. We're recommending to maintain the current meeting cycle. We've had a look through that to try and pick up public holidays, etc., throughout the year to ensure that the dates work. Obviously, where there's public holiday on a Monday, we're pushing that back to the Tuesday night, but otherwise it will continue with the same meeting cycle that we have at present.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions, councillors? Mr. CEO, can we investigate, noting that obviously the Kalgoorlie Town Hall Chambers is the location for 2025, is it possible to investigate any opportunity that we can use the wonderful chambers at the Boulder Town Hall in 2025 at one stage, noting that there's probably some upgrades to some tech that's required?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, the biggest challenge is in the requirements under the Act to stream our meetings going forward, which is one of the changes to the Local Government Act. From memory, it's from January next year. In order to conduct an ordinary meeting there, we'll have to identify how we can actually stream the meeting. So we can investigate it and provide a further report back to Council if that's the desire of Council.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Don't think we need a proper report, we'll just understand the issue. 15.14, no further questions, councillors? Thank you. 15.15, declaration of interest from Councillor Winner on this one is back with you, Mr. CEO, for Walk of Fame, although pretty much covered off previously.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This matter did go to the committee, and as part of the process undertaken by a committee, there was a secret ballot, the outcomes of which have been noted there. Obviously, the inductees will remain confidential until the Australia Day Awards in 2025. And this is just closing off that process as per the committee recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Questions on 15.15, councillors? No, thank you. 15.21, back to our Acting Director of Development and Growth, Elaine Baldemiro. The excise of a portion of Reserve 9,500 to facilitate telecommunications lease between Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage and Amplitel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the Mayor, Council at its 24th of June 2024 OCM authorised the CEO to endorse the excision of 120 square metres of land from Reserve 9500 to allow for a lease to be issued by DPLH to Amplitel for the purpose of telecommunication facility. It has been recognised that additional land is required for access and for further expansion of the facility, and DPLH have requested the proposed area be increased from 120 square metres to 180 square metres. Reserve 9500 is under management order to the city for the purpose of park drainage and recreation. Given that this part of the overall reserve is over 5 hectares in size, the small increase in 60 square metres is considered insignificant. It is therefore recommended that Council endorse the excision of 180 square metres of land from Reserve 9500 for the purpose of a telecommunication facility.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions on 15.21? No. Thank you, Acting Director. Amendment to approve childcare premise lot 13, 67 to 71 Durgan Street, Kalgoorlie is 15.22, which I've declared a financial interest in. Back to you, Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the Mayor, Council at its 22nd of April 2024 OCM approved the use of an existing building at 67 to 71 Durgan Street for the purpose of a childcare with a maximum of 84 children and 15 staff. The applicant is now seeking to amend Condition 9 of the development approval by removing the reference to a limitation on staff numbers. So Condition 9 of the approval states the facility is limited to a maximum of 84 children and 15 staff at any given time. The applicant requests that Condition 9 of the approval be revised to the facility is limited to a maximum of 84 children at any given time. The proposed childcare operator has requested the change because the restriction to an upper limit of 15 staff will affect the operation of the centre. The sample staffing schedule contained in the parking management plan indicates that at certain times the centre will need 23 staff to lawfully manage and operate the facility. The applicant has advised that a condition restricting staff numbers to the maximum number indicated in the sample staff schedule, being 23, will not result in any contractual issues regarding the commercial lease agreement for the property. In effect, the increase in staff numbers of 8 will require further 8 parking bays on Durgan Street. However, the city's engineers have advised that only 5 formed parks can be constructed on Dugan Street northeast of the site in front of 2 existing cottages. It is recommended that there is more than enough capacity in the surrounding network to accommodate the additional 3 spaces within a short walking distance. It is recommended that Council approve the application to amend the existing approval by removing the limit of staff numbers from approved condition 9 and by approving the additional 3 conditions related to the parking management plan, which also includes the sample staffing schedule, the requirement for construction of additional 5 formed car parks on Dugan Street, and the requirement for the lodgement and approval of a construction management plan within the city.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Turner.
Right, just through the Mayor to the Acting Director. I might be silly, but I'm just a little bit confused here. I understand the changeover for staff. I understand that there's more staff at different times or vehicles because if you have a crossover of shifts and lunch, but that wouldn't have changed from before, and it seems that what they didn't apply. Was there a flaw in their application before? Did they make a mistake in what they applied for, or is it wouldn't be new information that they have more staff?
Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the Mayor, my understanding it's a contractual issue, an obligation, and there's a commercial confidence around that. So yeah, that's why they've asked to amend that condition, and if it not, it may impact the approval.
Okay, so a supplementary question. It says that staff aren't concerned with parking issues in the area if those extra bays are constructed out the front. However, it's a very busy area with a school already there, and we've had, I don't know if we've had, I've certainly had complaints as a councillor. I don't know if the council has, from residents and other people around the area on people parking in the incorrect spots and things like that. And with a very busy childcare centre with 84 children, and I look at the time, one of those times is peak for staff is 8:30am to 3:30pm. That 3 to 3:30pm, it's a very, very, very busy time in Dugan Street. So I'm just a little bit concerned on what traffic management we've done and what parking studies we've done in that area, because it's a busy
Thank you.
area.
You've got plenty of observations in there with a very small question. Over to you, Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through the Mayor. Look, those parkings have been taken into account, and that's why they have a parking management plan to manage their staff. I think the visitor time is the identified time as the most busiest. They're also trying to incorporate with their staff that they'll be using alternative arrangements to come to work, and the addition of those 5 bays in the northeast of Dugan Street may relieve a bit of pressure.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Just a quick one. In relation to condition 9, I have no issue with the removing of the 15 staff on the condition. But if I just go to the opposite way, who governs the staff at these daycare centres? Like they're saying they have 23 staff.
That's a matter for higher up, either state, I think it's federal actually. Acting Director?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No? 15.2.2's done. 15.2.3, disposal of land, Area 1, Broadwood. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to consider a request from M Group for the acquisition of lots 95 to 106 Somerville, locally known as Area 1. Under the market-led proposal, M Group is offering the city a price which exceeds the current valuation of the land through an option to purchase process. The report outlines the history of the proposed sale of Areas 1 and 2, with the most recent expression of interest process only attracting one possible buyer for a small portion of Area 1. However, the submission did not comply with the requirements of the expressions of interest, so was not valid. M Group have now expressed interest in the purchase of Area 1 through a market-led proposal, the details of which explain in the report. M Group have also provided the city with a master plan concept illustrating their preferred development outcomes, which includes commercial and residential development, parkland, and a proposed primary school location as part of the overall development. M Group are a well-known and respected property investment and development group who are considered a desirable developer for potential residential land development in Kalgoorlie-Boulder and are responsible for developing the key workers lifestyle village, now called Amara Living, which is just southeast of this site. It is recommended that Council authorise the CEO to effect public notice in accordance with Section 3.58 of the Local Government Act, remembering that authorisation is only for public notice. Section 3.58 requires that the matter be brought back to Council for consideration, including any submission the city receives from the public notice.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner.
Could I just ask one question? When this has come to council, I think previously 2 times, it was looked at 2 lots, obviously Area 1 and Area 2. Could I just have a clarification that most of those cultural concerns primarily featured on Area 2, is that correct? There was some, and obviously they're working with the knowledge holders, but it was Area 2 that had the bigger concerns, and we're not looking at disposing of that.
Correct.
Correct. I believe it is Area 2, but I can take that question on notice and get back to you, Councillor Turner.
Councillors, any further questions? Thanks, Elaine. Workforce accommodation at lot 2699, number 10 Hewitt Street, South Kalgoorlie is item 1524. Back to you, Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to approve a change of use application from a single house to a workforce accommodation development catering for 6 employees in a location close to the Kalgoorlie Town Centre. The applicant is the owner of a small business offering specialised contracting services, employing 6 staff. Most of the company's work is on remote sites where the accommodation is provided. However, staff need to stay for 1 or 2 days in Kalgoorlie at the start and finish of their remote work. The proposal consists of converting the existing 3-bedroom house to accommodate some staff members, the addition of a 4-room prefabricated building providing 3 bedrooms and a storeroom, and associated amenities consistent with normal residential living. There is sufficient parking in the front of and at the rear of the existing dwelling. The proposal is considered to meet the objectives of the city's workforce accommodation policy, as it provides accommodation for staff who provide a very specialised service to remote mining sites and industry, is located close to the central business district, thereby contributing to the local economy, and the proposed development integrates well with the surrounding land uses. It is recommended that Council approve the development application with conditions as recommended.
Thank you, Acting Director. Any questions? Councillor Turner.
Okay. Surprised no one else wants to ask any questions. They might later. So under this proposal, the use under our LPS 2 is discretionary. That's correct? Okay, so obviously can't be delegated to our CEO under our new Local Government Act, so it has to come to Council. Around here I saw that there's residential, mixed business, group dwellings, trade supplies and motor vehicle repair. What grouped dwellings are in that area already?
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Thank you. Councillor Turner, do you have further questions? No. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm trying to find the conditions that would be put in place. I just wanted to know if there was anything on timing for those people coming and going from the location. I just couldn't find those in the conditions.
Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, there is a operational management plan that will probably specify that.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions on 1524? Thank you, Acting Director. 1525, extension of time-limited approval for workforce accommodation at lot 3874 Hopkins Street, South Boulder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to approve an application for an amendment to a workforce accommodation approval to Lot 3874 Hopkins Street, South Boulder, from a 5-year term to a 10-year term. The 152-bed development is currently under construction. It will share services with the completed workforce accommodation at Lot 72 Vivian Street, for which an amended to the expiry date for a further 5 years has also been requested. Both developments are owned and operated by the same group of owners. Condition 4 of the Vivian Street development approval states that this approval is valid for 5 years from the date of occupancy. Following expiry of this period, all development works must be demolished, materials removed from the site unless a further development approval is granted by the city. The occupancy permit for the Vivian Street development was issued on the 16th of February 2024. As the Vivian Street development provides administration services, gym, dining, dry mess services to this development under construction, and as this development, which is the Hopkins Street development, does not require an occupancy permit, it's appropriate to link two developments with the same expiry dates. Therefore, its proposed condition 4 reads, this approval is valid for 10 years from the 16th of February 2024. Following expiry of this period, all development works must be demolished and materials removed from the site unless a further development approval is granted by the city. The approved plans indicate that this proposed development will be completed to the same high standards as the Vivian Street development, and the applicant has provided evidence of the ongoing need for this accommodation. It is therefore recommended that Council approve the amendment with condition 4 as proposed.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
On face value, I'm not keen on this.
You're not making a decision, you're asking a question?
Yes, well this was granted last year, so they've got 4 more years currently. Will this extension of another nearly 9 years impact on our business development plan and or impact on work camps in our city if we're not taking that direction? Is that too jumbled?
No, I'm just trying to clarify your question so I can provide you with an answer, because we can't take a competitive nature into account with our planning matters. However, Acting Director, if you wanted to add further to that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through the Mayor, it's probably for more short to medium term future planning. So if there's any future projects in the region, I believe that's probably why they're asking for an extension now.
One supplementary. Workforce, these camps are very contentious. I'm just worried. Can this sit there for nearly 10 years and do nothing?
It'd be another 9.
9.
Acting Director.
It's been indicated by the applicant that they'll be used because of the future projects coming. So I don't believe it'll sit there and do nothing. So it'll be used, and remember the lifespan on that is limited, so it'll finish at 10 years or unless Council further approves an extension of term.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just through the Mayor, much in line with Councillor O'Donnell's question, given a 5-year approval has already been approved by Council and we're not even 12 months into this agreement, and as per workforce accommodation policy, has the applicant clearly provided rationale as to why an extension is required at this point in time?
Thank you, Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through the Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Councillor Turner.
Through the Mayor, I suppose my question was very similar to Councillor Winner's actually. I'm a little bit confused about why they require an extension now when I believe the camp isn't operational yet. Is that, it's still under construction, is that correct?
So there's 2 parts of the particular development. There's the Vivian Street location, which is already completed and is already occupied. Then there is this extension to that Vivian Street facility, which is actually on Hopkins Street, hence why we're dealing with Hopkins Street here, which is under construction at the moment. However, because they're on the same, fill in the blank there, sorry, is it the same title? No, it's the same.
Next door. Next door.
Yeah,
They're across the road
they're
from each
adjacent
other.
and joined. So therefore, this is covering off the Hopkins Street parcel of that, which is under construction. However, because the Vivian Street has already been constructed and is occupied, that can take precedence over the Hopkins Street site.
Okay, so supplementary question. Did Vivian Street get an extension
Acting Director.
from 5 years to 10 years?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, that's later on in the agenda item, is Vivian Street.
Thank you. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through to the Acting Director, I was just wondering, so are they just trying to align both of the approvals so that they're finalising at the same time? Is that the reason why, could that be the reason why one is trying to extend so quickly so that they both finalise at the same time?
Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, they're finalising at the same time because they share communal facilities. So the administration building, the gym, and the mess kitchen at Vivian Street, it has to align with that, because if you close that one down, then you'll have Hopkins Street operating with no gym, no food mess hall.
Another one to you, Councillor Viskovich.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I might ask on the next agenda item.
Thank you. No worries. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just through the Mayor, Acting Director, can you please confirm that the Vivian Street property, which is so closely linked to this item, is currently approved for 5 years, not 10 years? Is that correct?
Through the Mayor, the Vivian Street development is currently approved for 5 years.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Thank you, Acting Director. 1526, notice of motion. C.Y. O'Connor. He's delivered his own.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, at the 22nd of July 2024 Ordinary Council meeting, a motion was moved by Councillor Turner as follows: that Council requests the CEO to provide a report to Council on the potential recognition of C.Y. O'Connor through the creation of physical forms such as monuments or public interpretation installations within the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, and 2, ensure the report covers the following: A, broad tourism opportunities that such recognition could generate, and B, potential investments that could enhance the city's cultural and historical tourism offerings related to C.Y. O'Connor. In response to Councillor Turner's notice of motion, Council is asked to note the requested information provided in the report and the works undertaken to date in recognition of C.Y. O'Connor. A further report will be provided in the 25-26 financial year to update Council on further developments in this space, including recommendations from the soon-to-be finalised Kalgoorlie-Boulder Tourism Plan.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Turner.
Yes, so I suppose, well, it's not really a question.
Okay, if it's not a question, I won't take it.
I'll ask a question next week at the OCM,
Thank
because
you.
I think the OCM's a more appropriate place to do that.
So it's an agenda briefing. Okay, it's a statement. Lovely. Thank you. No further questions? 1527, extension of time limited approval for workforce accommodation at number 160 Vivian Street, South Boulder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, Council is asked to approve an application for an amendment to an existing workforce accommodation approval at 160 Vivian Street, South Boulder, from a 5-year to a 10-year term. The 302-bed workforce accommodation development is operational and will provide services to the partially completed workforce accommodation development at lot 3874 Hopkins Street. The owner has requested a 5-year extension to the approval, expiry date which is currently 5 years from the date of occupancy, being the 16th of February 2024. The proposed new condition states this approval is valid for 10 years from the 16th of February 2024 Following expiry of this period, all development works must be demolished and materials removed from the site unless a further development approval is granted by the City. The Vivian Street development has been constructed to a high standard with quality internal amenity and landscaping. The fencing and street tree planting enhances the development when viewed from the street. There is a demonstrated need for the housing of workers associated with mining industry over the next 10 years. Therefore, it's recommended that Council approve the amendment to the condition 4 as proposed.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just through the mayor to the Acting Director, much like the previous item of 15.2.5, given a 5-year approval has already been approved by Council and we are not even 12 months into this agreement, and as per the requirements of our workforce accommodation policy, has the applicant provided clear rationale as to why an extension is required at this point in time, given the policy allows for a possible extension at the completion of the initial 5-year approval period if the ongoing need can be clearly demonstrated?
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And through the Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Turner.
Just through the Mayor, very similar to Councillor Winner's question. So my question was, how long has it been open? Is 9 months correct?
No, it's how long it's been since its state of occupancy.
So how long since its date of occupancy is
which was
9
the
months?
16th of February 2024.
That's basically just about 9 months to the day. Okay, so am I correct in asking we're 9 months into a 5-year approval and we're already being asked to extend it a further 5 years?
That's correct. Any further questions? Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through to the Director, I just wanted to clarify. So the way I'm reading the report, we've got an expiry date on Vivian Street, which is the 16th of February, but Hopkins Street, as it's not occupied as yet, so we don't actually have an expiry date as yet.
The occupancy date for Vivian Street is carried over to Hopkins Street because they're interlinked.
Okay, this may be because I'm new, so why have we got the two items separately if they're interlinked?
Because one's on Vivian Street, one's on Hopkins Street.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No worries, thank you.
Yeah. That's okay. We love questions. Acting Director, any further questions? One from me. Do we have to approve this next week?
Through the Mayor, good question. I'll have to take that on notice.
Sure. Any further questions, councillors? Thank you. Thank you, Acting Director. Advocacy and Strategy Media Monitoring Platform Review. Mayor Hicks, welcome. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. This item is to introduce the focus of advocacy by the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder and to respond to elected member feedback on a requirement for improved media monitoring and information to guide advocacy efforts. Council is asked to endorse the officer's recommendation to subscribe to a new media monitoring service. The service that will be funded through the 24-25 budget and will support informed decision-making and proactive communication efforts. Following a review of its effectiveness after 1 year, we would recommend the service be continued after a review under the delegated approval of the CEO.
Thank you, sorry, you're not Acting Director, you are a Director of Community Development. Thank you, Mayor. Apologies. I've just been informed that the Deputy Mayor has left. There we go. 15.3.1, any questions, councillors? Councillor Turner.
Right, just a question through the Mayor to the Director, and it may have to be taken on notice. It said that in the report, it recommends the City continues with the current provider until the end of the contract period on the 30th of June 2025. Obviously, that's next year to make sure that we probably aren't paying two contracts, I would think. But can we have is there a cost comparison to what we're paying currently to what we're going to be paying in the future? Is there a budget line in there as a differing amount that we'll have to consider when we do our budgeting next year?
Director.
So Councillor Turner, there are two prices provided there in the report. So at the end of 30 June 2025, that amount or an amended amount, we'd have to look at it at that time as part of the review, would be included in the budget. In relation to your question about having two platforms at the same time, that is correct. We will commence the transition over to the new platform in December with a view of replacing the former platform completely after the contract expires on 30 June 2025. And this is just to ensure that we provide a continuous service while we train our staff and customize the platforms in accordance to individual elected members' needs or individual officers' needs.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Turner, any further questions? Yep. Just grab you to turn your mic off, please. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just through to the Director, I was just wondering if we've got a local company that has been approached, or has somebody come forward outside of Kalgoorlie-Boulder?
Thank you, Councillor. Director.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. These tools are actually quite sophisticated, and these are the only two that I know of in Australia that provides media monitoring. This one in particular has the additional capacity to even have information coming out of Parliament on a basically a live question and answer and so forth. So they're quite well set up, including, a WA branch manager.
Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So is it a company that's based along the lines of council and Parliament, not necessarily the average social media?
It's not it's a specialised service. It's not one that is linked to a Facebook and a Twitter and all that sort of stuff. They do a specialised report to council each day, similar to what you already receive in your inbox.
Just to follow up, so can we possibly find out what the budget that we're spending at the moment on this service compared to what we're looking at spending next financial year, please?
Councillor Viskovich, in the report, I don't have the exact report, but it's approximately $20,000. And so next financial year they're only a few dollars off from memory of the report. A few $100 off.
Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you. So we've got provider A and provider B in the report, but I can't see anywhere that what we're paying currently for the service that we're receiving at the moment.
There is a cost per annum on provider A that is in the report, and also provider B. Yep.
Thank you. So that's for next year. So that's the new providers, but I'm just wondering what we're spending currently.
Sure. I will take that one on notice. Thank you. Director, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not computer literate, as many would know, but does all this information for the staff to help us going forward, is it?
Correct. Staff, elected members, CEO, executive,
yep.
And to be more informed about what's happening about the city and as it happens, basically.
All right. So as a supplementary, so if somebody talks about Kalgoorlie-Boulder somewhere in a part of Australia or over whatever, is that the idea? It'll pick this up?
As long as it's in one of the channels identified that they pick up. They don't pick up any individual barbecue conversations or social media chatter, but from a broad sense, when we're mentioned in very important areas such as Parliament, that'll be captured by this, and also any of the media reports that happen in East Coast media or even international media that get channelled back as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for the Director? No. Thank you, Director Hicks. 15.4 Engineering Golf Course Waterbank Project Feasibility. We welcome back our Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council is asked to endorse the Waterbank Golf Course project and to consider funding this project during the mid-year budget review in 2025. Currently, the Kalgoorlie Golf Course is 100% reliant on recycled water. The city needs to develop alternative water sources to supply its requirements for growth and other users. Recent flooding damage at the golf course from the Greenview development stages 3, 4 and 5 provided a basis for the investigation to resolve the problem over the short and long terms. The city has appointed consultants to investigate the potential of the water harvesting and a transfer scheme considering the following: dam sizes, calculating yield assurance and alternatives from water balance modelling. The objective of the project was to minimise stormwater damage and flooding at the golf course, harvesting of stormwater that creates a flooding problem for irrigation at the golf course, upgrade the golf course bridge and transfer stormwater storage pond, providing better quality irrigation water to improve turf quality, and develop a water provision scheme to increase the self-sustainability of the golf course while providing a scheme that supports the objectives of the city water bank scheme. The implementation of this project, they're asking for 1.6 million to do the project. They did some feasibility, and if Water Corp supplies 25% of the water for the golf course, this project would basically have a yielded cost saving of 1.9 million over 5 years and 5 million over 10 years.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, questions? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through the matter to the Director, if this item was approved by Council next week at the Council meeting, what is the time frame for completion, given the information provided in the report? It seems a project of considerable importance.
Director.
For the approved next week, it would still need to go to and be approved at mid-year review. And then from there, I understand I'd have to take it on notice, but I think it's 3 or 4 months, but I'll take it on notice and give you a firm date.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Turner.
Yes, just through to the Director, through the Mayor. So we've got obviously an extensive water bank project that we have in the pipeline that we're waiting on funding for. Am I correct in believing that it will be an additional item to this that is completely separate to that, so this doesn't jeopardise any of our funding applications?
Director.
Yes, Councillor Turner, that's correct. This is supplementary to the water bank.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No further questions. Thank you, Director. Item 16, there are no questions at this stage next week, of which due notice has been given. You've got about 24 hours to get those in. No confidential items, and I'll close this evening's agenda briefing at 6:57. Thank you, staff, for the reports. Thank you, Mr. CEO, and thank you, councillors. Good evening.